Well, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Well, thank you for coming out to a beautiful Malden tonight for our featured presentation, mitigating energy rates. I did not look familiar. Fine. My name is Derek Blocky. I'm the administrative assistant for AEE New England. I've been associated with the organization for about 3 months now, working with my good buddy and board president, John Maugh. Over the past 5 years, I've actually lived in Texas, but I am a Northeasterner by trade. I might slip a y'all in there, but that's just from 5 years being down there. But I am a Red Sox fan, so there we go. I'm originally from Boston. I'm working on the progression of moving back to the Northeast and enjoying the cold winters again. With if it gets cold down in Texas, I can say this is beach weather. Okay. Past 5 years, I've worked in radio, academia, athletics, radio, marketing, publications, stuff like that. Last 3 years, I was a sports information director at a D3 university in Texas. So if you have any questions about how to stat volleyball or basketball, I'm your guy. I've enjoyed my time at AEE, and I'm looking forward to what it brings next. We'll start today. You may have noticed at the table out there that there's a remembrance for Sarah Emmerich of Leidos. We tragically lost her in October to domestic violence. There's a GoFundMe out there in the frame. There's a QR code for the GoFundMe in her honor for her daughter, Emma, who is definitely the center of her life. So, we do ask that if you could give to that. AEE will be matching donations today for that up to $1,000. So please, if you could give to that, AEE will be matching all donations today in her memory. Now, I did not know Sarah, but there is someone here who knew her quite well. Ron Galuli of Leidos, if you could come up and say a few words in Sarah's honor.
Thank you, Derek, and thank you for all your support in the Association of Energy Engineers and the energy efficiency community. Some of you may have known Sarah, some of you but she was like one of you, dedicated, passionate about what she was doing in energy and the environment. Extremely hard worker, good friend. Sometimes she made some meetings here, but she had a long commute in Kingston and had no father. But she was always in your thoughts. Tragically, she lost her life due to domestic violence incident. So now her daughter is without a mom. So yeah, anything you can do, we much appreciate it. We certainly appreciate it. Matching the donations. So we're currently working with the Emmerich family, and that money will go toward the trust for education. Thank everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Thank you, Ron. And again, right outside of the registration table, which you saw the QR code in the frame, that will get you on your phone right to the link for the GoFundMe in honor of Sarah. I'd like to now introduce an old friend of mine and the board president of AEE, John Maugh.
So, and thank you everyone for coming out tonight. Really appreciate it. I know it's a drive for some of you, and I know it's not always easy to get here. So I really appreciate you coming out. We're having some technical difficulties here, so I have to figure out the slide advance, but I'm going to freestyle it for now. What we've been up to recently, done a few things, right? So we've upgraded the website. I don't know if everyone's seen it. That was kind of one of the things that we wanted to address from over the summer. And we were able to get that done. So we encourage you to come check it out. It's www.aenew.org. It's completely overhauled. And if you have any feedback, we'd love to hear it too. So you can email us at info@aenew.org as well. We also, just take a look at that, see if we can progress the slides. So we also prepared this for Sarah, in loving memory. And this is the QR code, for the GoFundMe page here. It's also available up there, and we can send it out to everyone as well. As Derek mentioned, we're matching up to $1,000 in donation. So I also wanted to thank all of our sponsors here. So for those of you who aren't familiar, we have 3 levels or 3 tiers of the sponsor, silver, gold, and platinum. You are more than welcome to register on our website and help support us and scholarships and keep these going. This is the website that I had mentioned. Thank you, Adam, for the slide there. I also wanted to touch base on Seawheel. Seawheel is kind of a division underneath AEE New England. They had a very successful meeting earlier today. It was a free webinar that started at noon, had over 100 registered. Congratulations to them. Their next meeting is happening on January 27th. And more website information. We'll go on Seawheel. Excellent. So we're going to figure this out, and without further ado, I'm going to introduce Chris Pimentel, who will get us started in introducing Rich. So thank you.
Sure. So thanks everybody for coming tonight. I'm looking around the room and I'm realizing I probably know the majority of the people in the room. So that would indicate that there are a lot of people here that know a lot. Right? So I think tonight we're gonna try to really generate a discussion. We're hoping to bring some information to you guys that's new and fresh. But I'm sure that some of you are on top of a lot of the issues we're going to talk about here as well. So we're hoping to just generate some discussion around the finance models that are the topic of discussion tonight. So originally, when we first started talking about the topic tonight, it was really going to be based primarily on really ESPC energy as a service, which it is. But we also wanted to address the rates and how these models are changing between even months ago and months from now, right? So even now, and once we hit 2023, the projects are going to look radically different than they did a year ago, right? So that spurred us to think about the rates a little bit more deeply, and so we tagged Rich Costello to talk about why really the rates are the way they are. What is causing this dramatic cost increase in the dramatic rates in the Northeast? Rich is president of Acela Energy. He's been doing that for a very long time. Before that, I don't know if we're talking about when he was at Siemens. Some of the people weren't born yet when he was there. So, but with no further waste of time for me, Rich Costello.
All right, thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate it, and thank you all for coming tonight. I'm just going to yell out here and walk around a little bit easier. We had a meeting 2 meetings ago, and we had some folks from the utilities, National Grid and Eversource, come up and remember that. And they spoke about some of the programs they had for energy efficiency and for heat pumps. Remember that? Some people were at that meeting? Okay. Well, since then, and over the last couple of months, a lot of people have been asking me, I teach a lot around the country and have clients and stuff like that. They're all worried about this upcoming winter, these prices. And then we see newspaper ads, not ads, but articles about electricity costing 44 cents for residential folks this winter. crazy numbers like that. People said, can it be 44 cents, Rich? Is that possible? Business owners, can it really be 25 cents? We've only paid 19 or 8 or something like that. So there's worry out there. It's actually people worrying about it. And you know when it's worrying, people are worrying about it, when you see all of a sudden the 6 o'clock news on Channel 5 one night, a couple of weeks ago, spent the first 10 minutes talking about the cost of energy that all of us are gonna be seeing, most of us, I should say, we're gonna be seeing in the winter. So it's really on people's minds. So this mitigated energy rates, it's really kind of talking about from out of the blue and why they're there, what we can do, and Chris and the rest of the folks in this company will talk a little bit later about that. Things we can do to help save energy. So quickly on my topics, I'm only gonna be here for 10, 15 minutes. It's gonna be quick, but I'm gonna talk a little bit about gas, how it gets there, because a big problem is gas, not the electric, it's the gas that feeds the power plant. We gotta worry about it. The cost, LNG to New England, local utilities, messenger of bad news, but they're the messenger. We can't be blaming them. Okay, there's other things that are dynamic taking place. What the Jones Act is, it's Siberian Boston baked beans, because everyone was asking about that. So we'll go and talk about that. So just for the heck of it, here's the United States, and just for the heck of people never saw a map like this. That's where all your gas is sitting in the United States. We have 300 years worth of gas at the same rate we currently consume it today. If we wanted to use gas for 300 years, we got it all. And not only in these shale deposits do we have 300 years worth of natural gas, the two provinces, Alberta and Saskatchewan, have just as much gas. So we can have gas for 600 years. Everybody happy? 600 years worth of gas, right? Now, we're not going to be using probably gas in 600 years. We all know that. But the North America, mostly in the United States and in Canada, obviously, has plenty of gas. So gas is not the problem. The gas itself. It's all over the place. Okay? That isn't the problem. So what is it? Well, we're up in the Massachusetts. So remember this map. This is where we hang out. Well, let's look at all the pipelines around the United States. Here's a 40,000-foot view of all these blue lines, major interstate and intrastate pipelines around the United States. Down in Texas, Oklahoma, there's a lot of dark area there, right? So a lot of gas comes from there, but it comes from everywhere else. It comes from Pennsylvania, okay, Virginia, all these places, right? So when we think of gas and purchasing it for our Waltham hotel we're in now, or our houses, and when it comes to pricing it, we base the commodity out of a place in Louisiana called Henry Hub in Eric, Louisiana. That's where the United States and the NYMEX, COMEX price natural gas. You've heard of that before, right? I'm sure most of you have. Well, that's based on gas as if it was sitting right here. Even though we might be getting gas from Pennsylvania, it doesn't matter. It's right here. Then we got to get the gas from here to here. It's called pipeline transportation for that on the basis. And that line there, that red line, whether it's physical or financial, it really doesn't matter. That red line's costing a lot of money this January and February. Okay, that distance between gas and Waltham, Massachusetts. So this pipeline sits here. We'll talk about this in a minute. Now, when the gas gets up to our area, right, Drake at Mass and pick other places. National Grid, our Eversource, grabs the gas when it goes by on a pipeline, and they distribute to all of us. So when we get gas in the kitchen here to cook the chicken you just ate, okay, where'd that gas come from? Anyone know? I hope you like the chicken. Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, maybe? Could it have come from Canada? It could have come from a lot of places, right? Who said it tasted like Canada? So anyway, so then National Grid or Eversource, they distribute to you, right? So here's the hotel, here's the chicken cook in the back, whatever. So it makes its way around. So that kind of gives you the idea of three things all we're concerned about: the stop gas, the long haul, and then finally make it to my house or to the hotel. Whatever. So let's look at something. You probably haven't seen this before, but this is something called ICE, Intercontinental Exchange. And this is where traders trade future contracts, not for just natural gas prices, but that long red line, that basis we saw a few minutes ago. Okay? So I just put this out on November 1st, and I just want everyone to take a quick look at this. For January and February, the Algonquin Transportation Pipeline is what's called, I don't know if different people on it. You've heard of that before, right? The Algonquin Pipeline feeding New England, right? So this step in the woods, it's $21.59 a decatherm or an MMBTU. Just for that red line. Just for January. Okay, look at February, $21.94. Just for this. How much does the gas cost? Yeah, it seems like a lot. I mean, this is the dollar. Well, the gas, if we looked at for January and February a few days ago, is only $6. Only $6. That's not a lot. We've had $6 before for gas. So it's $6, but when you add the $6 to the 21, now you got a problem. Look at June coming up, June of 2023. You know what the price of that red line is? That transportation pipeline? It's negative 51 cents. God, I love negative numbers, huh? Okay. So let's kind of look why are we talking about these two real-time traded future charts of the board? Let's do the math, right? January, $6 for the gas, that's the stuff, right? The stuff we need. $41.59 to kind of make the trip. And then National Grid Eversource tack on $4 to get it to your meter, your house. So look at the pie chart. What's most of the pie chart? The vast majority for this July, January, and February. Right. Now, see that big cost run up? What's it gonna cost when a power plant has to buy gas, which is 10 times more than it usually spends? What's the electricity coming out the other end? 10 times as much. So the problem lies is that Massachusetts and some of the other states right here are at the end of the pipelines, right? And always have been, haven't we? Okay, so what have we done historically to stop that? Well, we got a problem here also where we're located. This is the Boston Globe just recently, a couple of days ago. Head of Eversource is sounding the alarm to President Biden, urgently requesting that he uses emergency powers to ensure New England residents will have enough fuel to stay warm and avoid blackout. This is the CEO of the utility. What have you read this? In the Globe, writing to the President of the United States. So this is also not a good thing. You see this? Ever got this? This is starting to match up. You see where we're going with this? Mr. Nolan, I knew him when he was a young kid. Okay, now he's CEO of Eversource. Wrote a letter saying, hey, we want you to do some things. And one of the things they wanted to do was to temporarily waive the Jones Act. And some of you might have heard the Jones Act, some of you haven't. But what is the Jones Act and why do we care about it up in New England? Well, it was made in June 5th, 1920. It was passed by Congress. It had basically said something like this. Among the provisions of the Jones legislation were the requirements that if you go from transport goods from one port in the United States to another port in the United States, it must be done on a U.S. flag vessel. Okay, approved by U.S. citizens. This is how it was written at the time. Then it's a little bit less lenient. 75% of the ship has to be U.S. owned, and at least 75% of the folks have to be on the crew. So it says, what's that got to do with LNG gas? And why do we care about that? We care about it a lot because there is no LNG tanker in the United States. It's made in the United States, nor the crew from the United States. So we cannot transport natural gas from one port in the United States to another. There is no such ship in the world. So what is that? Oh, I don't care about that. Well, it does make a difference. Here is the natural gas that we get in this hotel would generally come from the country somewhere, it's Texas, through the pipeline system, or it could come from Trinidad or Tobago. See the top left? That's where a liquid LNG training station is, or liquefaction plant, different names for it, off the coast of Venezuela. We make LNG, we put it on a boat like this, and even though it says Suez and we bring it to Boston, still not a US flag or employee vessel. So we can come from a foreign country, go to the port and leave. Have you got that? Simple. We've been doing it since 1970 up in the Massachusetts area. Well, what happens? Well, the gas gets put in these two tanks in Everett. Then 100 trucks a day come through. You ever see this on 128? These little white tube trucks. It says liquefied. It says methane refrigerated liquid. You ever see that side of a truck? That's LNG from Trinidad and Tobago, going down 128 or going down to New York, or to New Hampshire, or to Vermont. This is another liquefaction plant. It's not in Trinidad, it's not in Tobago. It's in this country called the US. You ever hear of that? Okay. This has been a place called Texas. Who is from Texas? You were yapping about Texas, right? This is pretty kind of island in Texas.
I think that's the other side of the state.
Yeah, it must be, yeah. So these are big refrigerators. This is what we do is we pull the energy out of natural gas. And then when it gets to 262 degrees below zero, it turns to a liquid and put it on a boat, ship it. When the boat comes in and takes it from Texas, where does it go? It ain't going to the United States, is it? Because it's physically impossible, because we don't have a boat. We probably never will at the rate we're going. So that's too bad, right? Because that's natural gas. Now, where is the gas? Well, here's the good old Waltham, Massachusetts. And here is the Texas liquefaction plant. But where do we buy it from? Venezuela, off the coast of Venezuela, Trinidad. We put on a boat, it takes 5 days. Think of all the energy we burn bringing this up 5 days in a boat. When there's tons of it sitting in Texas that we can't buy or use for any power plants or to heat your building or your grandmother's house down the street. No, 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 no. We do something different. What we do is we drag some gas from here. If we need more, we go to Siberia. You know, we've got
To Uncle Poop.
yeah. There it is. An LNG plant. And the upper plants in Siberia. You think it's colder on Waltham? Go there. The first square foot, or cubic foot, I should say, of natural gas that ever left this plant, you know where it went? Everett, Massachusetts. Okay, Everett, Massachusetts. There is $30 million of Siberian natural gas sitting in that tank up. Okay, so just think, during some winter times, when you keep it nice and warm, the gas came from Siberia. It's going through the pipeline that Eversource on National Grid had. This is an example. I know this is before the war, right? Okay, but think of this crazy system we have in place that now allows us to pay the most we'll ever pay for to get natural gas ever in New England will be this January and February. And it doesn't matter what the gas is, $6 or $9, $8, $3, does it matter? No. Now, sounds like I'm the bearer of bad news. I am, but the rest of the presentation tonight, we're gonna toss it to Chris. He's gonna ask me to speak. That's sad you did, okay? But the one more thing I was just gonna say is that we're gonna talk about things. So mitigation, what do you do? Here's what you do. In January and February, don't use gas. Sound good? Yeah. Okay. Other than that, do energy efficiency. Does that sound good? Right, we should be doing that. A lot of us, hopefully our companies did purchasing of natural gas ahead of time and hedged and locked it in. And maybe you did, maybe you didn't, right? That's 50-50. Maybe some of you have locked in your electric costs for the next coming years or didn't, right? So our customers, some of us are vendors in here, we have to work with our customers to let them know that this winter, do everything they can to try to, reduce the use of natural gas. And again, if you can lock in, I know it's going to be tough now if you haven't locked in already, try to, look at that and pay more attention to it, okay? Because we're going to have a real serious thing. And I'm going to take questions if you don't mind at the very end, but I got to keep this going, but I'll be hanging out to the end. So, Chris, you want to go?
All right. Thanks for that, Rich.
Sir, not really bad news.
Thank you, Rich. Rich is a veteran of AWE, former president and ongoing board member. So thank you for that. That was that was educational for, I'm sure, most of us, to some extent or another, more for one than another. But, so our next speaker is going to shoulder, the rest of the evening. So, our speaker, Kelly Kaufman, unfortunately got sick and is unable to be here, but luckily, we do have someone who probably knows that content just as well. She is, started her career at, the the Department of Public Utilities. Went on from there, to National Grid and managed $2 billion budget, $2 billion budget, something like that. Anyway, very much, somewhere in between that. And then she went to Siemens for many years, at which point she came to my attention. We've been friends for a good while. She brought me on to Centrica, and I reported directly to her for some time. I don't know if she knows this, but I wrote a very flattering letter suggesting strongly that they promote her. And lo and behold, she's now the national business lead for the company. So we're very.
I know it's all things too, but I.
Yeah. I think it's all thanks. But Regina, Durga, why don't you take it away from there?
All right, so I have to tell you that Chris is like, hey, can you talk about energy, like, performance contracting and, you know, talk about the impact of rates and the IRA and things like that. And Cheryl, unfortunately, Ray, many of you know, recently joined us too as an energy engineer 3 in our company, which we're super excited about, so senior energy engineer. So she helped pull the numbers together for this presentation. But lo and behold, Chris is like, what part do you need me to play? I was like, I don't know. But he was like, all right, good, just take it. And then I called him on the way because I was like, hey, I'm gonna be late. And I got my car and panicked, and he was like, oh, I don't think I can get there till 6:30. He's like, what? And I was like, just walk through the beginning slides, you'll be fine. And then lo and behold, I realized that I did not start on the clock. So we're gonna go, okay. So really what he asked me to talk to is leveraging tax credits and local incentives to implement these projects. I know we have a lot of experience in this room. I know that you guys know some of this content. So really what I wanted to go over was like, I'll go through the financial models. How many people here have done financial models? Kathy has been raising her hand. Yeah, so not everyone. So I'm gonna level set and we're gonna go through like the ESPC model and ESA model, which what the slight difference is. Guarantee savings, common barriers. I'm gonna try and run through this. We had this great presentation from Rich telling us why we're all going to suffer this winter. We just did a comparison about where the rates were a couple years ago and where they are. And then thanks to the help from Cheryl, we were able to pull it into a couple example, a couple of examples in actual the impact on the project on example project. Right. So I'm going to kind of run through some of the stuff. So traditional procurement is a design to build. So a lot of our customers are doing projects. This is what they do. They go out and bid it out to design engineer comes back, they bid it out, and then contractors bid on it, and then there's a change order process and whatnot. And it's very traditional. In Massachusetts, if your public sector is 149B, 149 fix. But the risk is really on the customer at that point to shoulder any changes or anything that happens. Traditional performance contracting. So how many people are doing performance contracting in this room? Okay, all right, a couple. So this is under legislation 25A. And what this allows a public, private customers can do this too. It's just a design build model with a guaranteed savings plan. Okay, so if you think about it, it shifts a little bit of the risk. It shifts some of the risk over to the contractor. It's a design build model again, so you're going to come in and design and build it. And typically there's a funding mechanism, so cash is always accepted. And the funding is going to be directly to that client, so that means they are going out to that service themselves. And then it's gonna be backstopped by the ESCO with a guarantee, so that, and the model is that there's energy savings that are paying, that's paying for this project for that time. Make sense? Now we're getting into this ESA model. How many people are doing efficiency as a service, energy as a service on that? Okay, right, so same concepts. I'm gonna go, it's this concept behind both, right? But here's what it changes. How many people have done a power purchase agreement for solar? Right, okay. So this is a power purchase agreement for efficiency. The equipment is owned by a special purpose entity. So if you were doing a power purchase agreement for solar, the financier or there would be an asset owner, that asset owner owns those panels and you buy the energy off the panels, right? You're gonna buy the actual kilowatt hours that are produced by those panels and pay it at a rate. So you're paying, you know, well, in Massachusetts, 30 cents now. But then if you had a power purchase agreement, maybe you're paying 10, right? For every kilowatt hour that's produced by that panel. So when you're doing efficiency as a service, then the same ideas, all of the assets that are equipment, no matter if it's lighting or boilers or whatever, is owned under a special purpose entity. And then you're paying for the savings that are created from that equipment. Make sense? And so structurally, so again, it's the same model. So this model that underpins all of it is this model. You have current costs, the gray bar. Those are your current costs, your utility bills currently, your operational costs. That's what you're currently paying to heat, cool, you know, turn the lights on in your building. Then you're going to come in as ASCO would come in and we're going to develop a project that's going to save energy, say kilowatt hours burns, maybe produce energy, right, cleaner. And there's going to be a shared savings, so then, and there's going to be some sort of shared savings there. And we use those savings to pay for those upgrades over time. And after the contract is all paid out, all those savings go back to the customer. Now, under the CISA model, like the Sustainable Energy Services Agreement or Energy Services Agreement, sometimes you're hearing referred to in you know, higher ed as P3, so public-private partnership. You know, concession deal, long-term, like, so there's different names for it out there. But it's the same idea as what you're seeing, you know, within a performance contract. It's just a little bit structured differently. So those assets are owned by a third party entity, and then you're paying for saying, why do it that way? Any guesses? What?
Must be a tax advantage.
The tax advantage for the potential customer. That's why you would do it, because they don't want to be leveraged. They want to be off balance sheet. So that is why you would structure it this way versus doing a traditional performance contract. Now, if you are a private customer, really it's so that you would look better for your investors, or you don't, you know, you want to, we've actually done this with Amazon, for example. Why would Amazon do this? Because they want the people to go buy Whole Foods. So, and then then this truly sits, as long as their accounting firm agrees with it, sits as a true operating expense, right? And that's why you do it private. You're public, why you might do it is that you have a debt capacity limit, right? And so you're able to say, okay, we'll do it as a true services agreement. You're seeing these models out there on a lot of different things. Battery storage is a great example, right? So, you know, and they're just different flavors of the same kind of thing. But battery storage, there's an income stream behind it that someone is hoping to capture, and there's savings to the customer, or there's a benefit to the customer. The benefit could be, you know, they're shaving feet, could be a lot of different things, but you're seeing these kind of models come up in a lot of different ways. And it's truly under battery storage, it's they don't necessarily want to own the asset or something that's they don't really know how to run, right? We're seeing this even for like central plants, you know, DBOOM model, design, build, own, operate, maintain, right? There's still an underpinning cost savings model behind it, and a cash flow that goes with it. Right. So again, this model is underpinning it all, you know, and then it's just presented in different ways. So we all do this all the time. So we did talk about the general deployment of services. You can come up with a customer plan, reduce their energy, convert, and then enhance on the backside, right? And what we're seeing now a lot of times, I don't know if I have a pointer, but a lot of the slow hanging fruit is going away. Right, so that becomes, it makes this model a little more challenging, and how do we help our customers save? This kind of, just kind of like quick payback, some of the common barriers that we're finding to implementing projects, are any of you guys facing this? Like quick payback energy reducing measures have already been implemented? Are we starting, I mean, I think we're all facing that, right? Like, okay, great, you did your lighting now, but we need a boiler, great, that's a lot more expensive. So high cost, low gap payback could convenience cannot be offset by the available quick payback measures. And they require a capital investment. I think we're seeing some of this within the ESBC market for public sector, where it's like kind of the next version. How do we bring all these different funds together to make something work? This is a common problem we're seeing everywhere. Customers' capital improvement plans have more projects than they can fund in any given budget cycle. That should be our dream. Let us come in and finance this for you. It doesn't always happen that way. And obviously, even though, we have projects that work, they're still unable to secure funding due to limited capacity, stakeholder buy-in, or low internal ROI requirements. We see that in all our customers. I think these are problems we all face. So then you can take it. So what I'm going to go into next is how these actually help our projects. So as a homeowner that's paying almost 30 cents a kWh or more, actually, I just found out what my supply rate is going to be for the winter. It's not pretty. We consolidated the town. And these can actually help a project because the savings are worth more, right? It's just simple. The Inflation Reduction Act, I'm going to go into how this is going to potentially help our projects. And then local incentives, and then, like I said, combined models. That we're not going to go, since Chris kind of sprung a lot of this on me, I can only go to, I can only go to something. I'm blaming this. Like a lot of us have been in this business for a while, so if you have comments or thoughts on it, I'm happy to, let's discuss, right? So Rich set us up for this, and we just did United States versus Boston. This is where we're at for our average cost of electricity. You have to wonder why we all still live here, but it's huge. Cost of living does not go down. It's like high taxes and high electricity. But we're up around 30 cents, just for modeling purposes. And then here's where we are for natural gas. And then as we just heard, we may not have it any, we may not just have it. So now we're going to get into the investment tax credit. How many people have been walking out on the investment tax credit and what's coming on with the Inflation Reduction? A little bit. All right. The renewable energy tax credits are pretty exciting. So after 2025, they've actually become technology neutral, but the technology has to be net zero energy. So it has to be net zero, like it has to be non-carbon producing. So if you want to put in a mini nuclear facility, that could actually be non-carbon producing. But there's actually other incentives for those, and that's probably not what any one of us here are going to install. But the best way I've had seen it laid out is under this model. So and we're going to kind of focus this around solar because it's the easiest one. But the base rate for the investment tax credit is 6%, right? So that's your base. So just install solar, just install ground source heat pumps, and you get 6% tax credit. Now, that's it, right? But if you want to get it up to 30%, you actually have to use prevailing wage or apprenticeship. And this is for projects under target. All right, so you have to use it in order to get to that 30% level. There's additional bonuses for using domestic content bonus. So you can get 10%. You have to use US steel, iron, or products made in the US. That is actually going to be a little bit challenging right now. So, but after 2025, right? Like it's after 2025, there's going to be even more requirements, right? Energy community bonus, 10% for both projects and energy communities. And you can actually Google that and find out where those energy communities are. There's a couple of websites that actually have played it. And then another low-income community bonus of 10 to 20% for projects in low-income communities, Indian land, or multi-family housing. So 20% bonus for projects that provide 50% plus financial benefits to low-income persons. So you can potentially do that for community solar, that you're benefiting low LMI, low medium income. So there is ways. So this is how they start stacking up. You could also choose to do the production tax credit and you have to choose one or the other, and the same kind of stack up. You can see it right there, that they're gonna stack up. Now, eventually, we're gonna put this on a timeline, so maybe that'll be in the next presentation, where you can see actually where things are heading. But this is pretty exciting stuff, so now, just to put it in reference, if the IRA was not passed, the investment tax credit was gonna drop down 23%, I believe, in 2023, and was gonna drop again to like 10% after the year after. So this stabilizes the investment tax credit, which actually is a huge driver for renewable energy projects. Okay, so what are the kind of, and they're expanding the qualifying technologies. So, I actually didn't even know the slide was in there. I have this amazing marketing person, and I have to give her a lot of credit for this. So she really helped today, and I just pulled this all together. And between Cheryl and Caitlin, this is why you have a presentation today. But these are all the things that are going to qualify for the investment tax credit and the production tax credit. So you get a sense of they're expanding out what is going to be qualified. So also really exciting as we're trying to develop these kind of projects and bring like not just efficiency, but other technologies to the table to really drive towards this carbon neutral future, that carbon, net zero carbon future. And as it gets like qualified solar, fuel cell, qualified microturbine, and they're really driving towards hydrogen into the future. Either that, or you have to bring, if you are using natural gas, eventually you're going to have to bring, by 2025, you're going to have to bring carbon sequestration into the mix. No, am I wrong on that? Okay, go ahead. That was HP? Okay.
All natural gas, no mention of any hydrogen, anything like that.
Okay, good, because I thought by 2025 they switched even with the fuel cell. All right, because I was reading, all right, that's good to see. Okay, and then the other thing that's coming in is the energy efficient commercial buildings deduction, 179D. How many people have used 179D for projects here? Yeah, it's quite a few. All right. So, what was that?
I was just thinking aloud, sorry.
Yeah.
You too.
Okay. No, so the way it was, and correct me if I'm wrong for those people that have used it, I think it was 60 cents per square foot for 3 things, right? So lighting, envelope, and HVAC. Okay. So this now brings it, it's structured as a base at 50 cents per square foot. And then you have to use a prevailing wage, you have to use the prevailing wage in apprenticeship, you have to meet that requirement. And then you have to, for 25% increase in efficiency, you multiply, you get $2.50 per square foot, and then 50% efficiency, you get $5 per square foot. So it goes up, but also the requirements go up. Any comments for those people who've used 179D? Have you?
One of the problems is the major corporations, the accounting people don't want to have anything to do with this.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this for years. They're
And
too busy.
Anyway, so this is essentially accelerated depreciation, is it worth it?
That's correct, but
Right.
they just don't want to buy into the paperwork and the tax. They'll tell you what it takes for them to do their taxes is a building full of people. They don't need the second building. So it's sad, but that's the excuse.
No, I totally understand it. And they are getting, especially for a private sector customer, they're going to get the depreciation over time anyway. So it's just a matter, do they want to accelerate it? Is it worth it to them? So.
Well, the numbers just tripled too. So
Well, this is where it's up to. So
Right,
before it was
it's
60,
up.
so it was like $6, so you're looking at $1.80 before, and now this is what you can get, but you have to meet, the bars are higher.
it is, right? But if you can get there, that might incentivize, the people in finance to rethink it a little bit.
Yeah.
But there also is the requirements, the M&D requirements on top of it.
Right. The nonprofits need to understand this because the engineers and architects can get a tax break.
Exactly.
But you got to get those same folks to take a cut in their margins, right? Because this is the problem, okay? People have to be transparent and that's got to pass on to the nonprofit. It just can't go in the pockets of the people that are doing it. And that's just, it's a tough sell.
Yeah, I actually, when I model it out, I took a cut if you're gonna have to transfer the credit. Because you're not gonna, whoever's gonna take is gonna hit it. All right, so So this is also what's super exciting right here. The direct pay. How many people are familiar with direct pay? Yeah, all right, so I got a couple, so I'm gonna split it. So normally, under the old rules, if you're a public sector customer, you don't have tax burden, so therefore there's no tax credits. Right, so you can't take it. Now, under the IRA, there's what's called direct pay. So you are actually able to, the IRS rules are not out yet, so we don't know exactly how it's gonna work. But for any kind of one of the projects that qualify, solar, battery storage, and battery storage also could be a standalone technology, it's still qualified. So you can actually take the credit, which can be up to 70% in right areas, as a credit, as a direct pay. So there's no need to have a tax liability in order for you to benefit from the ITC or the PTC.
That's gonna be the game changer.
The game changer.
Yeah, when you work with big companies, and they say they make a lot of money on their stuff, you know, they're effective.
Rolex.
But then when you look at their taxes, they're selling government, that they're losing money, and they have no place. to take
Well, and
the
that's-
tax credit.
Right,
So if you can get the money, if you can get paid, like we just did in Massachusetts.
well,
or-
but if you're working with a company and still works as a tax credit, you can transfer that tax credit. So it is transferable.
Oh, you don't get the, so.
But it's not, you need to transfer, so it's for a nonprofit. So this is what government, churches, nonprofits, charitable, so if you're 501c3, so basically nonprofit, you're eligible for direct pay.
Oh, just not.
Right, but it's huge, you know, think about that, it's huge, it's huge, yeah. So it's a really huge thing for public sector performance contracting, for even private higher education, which the majority of it is a nonprofit, is a, you know. Any, like I said, any kind of boys and girls club, all of it. So, and then all of the other grants and rebates that they're also available in Massachusetts. So we just kind of, so I'm not going to go through them because most of the people in this room probably are very familiar, more familiar than I am. All right, so impact to clean energy projects. So this is a building that Cheryl actually helped to we wanted to provide an actual example. So if there's, and I hope it's, you know, hopefully it works out. So building with it, so we basically just looked at a building that she looked at before, a building with an attached warehouse, it had atmospheres for it, boilers, and so if you have questions about the solution, you have to ask Cheryl. A lot of circuit thinking. Pumps without VFDs, 2 RTUs, hot water coils, you know, so you can read it, and an old school, it's basically an old shitty building, as we've all seen, right? So, all right, so we modeled it under 2020 electricity rates and natural gas rates. And then we modeled it again, and we modeled it both as if it was a private sector and then also as if it was public sector. So we could show it both ways. So commercial scenario, you had a project investment of 3.1 million. After incentives, the net project investment was 2.2 million, because and the term would have been, if we finance it with an 8% interest rate, which we just picked a high rate because we said, but because this building was such a poor shape, we assumed they had mediocre credit. So, so we gave them the 8% interest rate. Here's a proposed scope of work and the incentives. And so they got it. So what helped this project here is they have a tax credit under 2020. It would have been a 26% tax credit. So the project could have been bought down assuming they have a tax appetite, which they can take it over several years. Of 318,000 and 179 tax credit of 180, assuming the 60 cents per measure per square foot, right? And then that helps, and then utility incentives of 602,000 and estimates of 40,000. So they're on this spot. So kind of just gives you a sense. The term here is 13 years, so this just kind of tells you where the payback would have been with assuming an 8% finance. All right. So then under 20. All right. So I'm going to go to, all right, so under the 2023 scenario, we moved to 30-cent kWh rates and $1.50 per therm. Okay. Model the same project, and actually the term where it pays for itself with an 8% interest rate drops down to 8 years. So what changes? Your savings are worth a lot more. Right, so that's one of the things that changes. Same scope of work, you save in utility incentives, we just assumed whatever we got for 2020, we got now, we don't really, I mean, maybe not. Same SREC, you know, and again, the smart programs are declining, we don't want to mess around, but then what else changed? You get a little bit more on the tax credit, because you brought it up from 26%, which was 2020, up to 26, up to, what would be in 2023, which is 30%, you know, we're using, and then the tax credit of 250,000 of the 179. So again, they would have to be able to monetize this all, but it's really showing you the difference that you're getting both from having increased utility rates, which increases the value of the savings dramatically, and then also just a little bit more of a bump on the ITC and the L179.
Did that get the production tax credit?
We could, so with the production, you have to choose one or the other. So ITC or PTC, we modeled the ITC just a little easier to do. And what you'd want to do is model it out both ways. Okay, so now I'm going to go back, look at this for a municipal client. So under 2020, you know, same thing, you figure it's a 4.14% interest rate. We kept it the same so you can have, in 2020, it would have been less. I do, you know, interest rates have gone up, but that is actually an indicative rate that I pulled fairly recently, so that's probably pretty accurate. And then same promotion scope of work, utility incentives, all that's the same. Direct pay not eligible, so they don't get the ITC, right? And they get a transfer credit of 179. We actually cut the credit in half, because what it means that they have to transfer it to the point you were making. You have to be the engineer, you have to be the engineering firm, the escrows, so you have to design the project in order to take advantage of that. To be able to transfer it, it makes it really complicated and not that easy, right? So
I'm not gonna wait. My employees.
right, so actually the larger firms are more able to monetize these for their customers, and they also have to have a tax appetite themselves in order to take it. How much are they able to actually absorb?
Yeah,
But
to stay on this is, I mean, this narrow of the range to not qualify for the transfer. If your savings are off by 2 or 3%, you don't get the transfer, and then you don't get paid as the engineer or even the ESCO.
or in the ESCO, because you're taking the risk, which is why I cut it in half, because you're gonna transfer it, and I hedged it, right? Because you're gonna take on the risk as an ESCO or as the engineering firm, saying, I have the tax appetite, my firm has a tax appetite, we're willing to take that out and share some benefit back. You're gonna hedge it. You're never gonna, because you don't, you know, and then how much of a tax appetite does your firm have? I think that getting the transfer credit and doing the transfer credit, the value is probably very diminished, because it's a lot of work for, and a lot of risk for the company to take on, to your point, especially with the new rules and having to show you have to have that 25% savings from your baseline, you know, in order to get even that small amount. So but I'm modeling out the other possible, not necessarily what you would want to do. Like, yeah, right? So then, same scenario under 2023, same project size, net project investment after incentives. The term actually goes down dramatically, and the things that are different, higher utility rates, right? So we're using the 30 cents and the $1.50 a therm on the 2023 modeling of the utility rates we're seeing here. Those savings are worth a lot more, so the payback comes down. And the other thing that's usually different is the direct pay. So there's a difference between the direct pay that you're seeing in the commercial scenario. Let's see. The commercial scenario, you're in at 367, 315 on your ITC under the commercial scenario, and you're at 312, 217 on your municipal scenario. So the difference is, does anybody know the difference? Why it's lower? Right. So under the IRA, if you use tax exempt money to fund your project, you take a haircut on the ITC. So you have to take a 15% reduction of your ITC, so 15% off the 30, because you're not double dipping on the taxes on the insured project. So the ITC down lowers to, I think it's 25.5%, because you're taking a 15% haircut on the available 30% ITC. Does that make sense? Are you following it? That's how you look. So.
More or less.
Well, all right, so normally the ITC is, let's first assuming a 30% ITC that you got your base at 6%, you did prevailing wage and apprenticeship, it got you up to 30%. So 30% is where you're at for ITC. Because you're not in an economic zone, you don't get the additional hours, you're not doing binary code. So you get the 30% ITC as a standard. And then, but it's funded through a tax exempt lease purchase. So if you notice the interest rate on this municipal scenario is 4.14, the interest rate on your commercial scenario is 8%. The difference between those interest rates is tax. So municipal clients qualify for what's either a bond, so they'll either bond their projects at a very low rate, or they're going to go out for what's called a tax exempt lease purchase, commonly referred to as a TELP. Right, and that TELP or that tax exempt lease purchase is at a significantly lower interest rate. So typically, what I had actually just done indicative rates for a customer for a public sector, a TELP was at 4.14%, and so the tax exempt and the commercial rate was at like 5.5%. But like I said, this commercial customer, because of the state of the building, we assume their credit's kind of mediocre. And and they probably, if you're a regular commercial customer, you probably would pay around 8%. Municipal customers tend to have very good credit. So I'm not sure how no, so those are the kind of the differences that you're seeing, like that's why the interest rate is so much lower for a municipal client. It's the tax nature of it. But then with the direct pay, and because you're taking tax exempt money, you do have to take a haircut on the ITC, and that brings it down just a little bit. But still, it's awesome, right? Like if you're doing a renewable project for them, and you can take a direct pay on this project, that is a really good deal. So, and it works, and it's a much better deal for them than if you did a power purchase. So just because you're not sharing the value with many partners. So again, just to show you what we did, stacking the investment tax credit, we assumed a base rate of 6%, and that we were able to do the 24%. We got an extra of 24% because, of course, we're working at, we're going to do prevailing wage, and we're going to meet the apprenticeship requirements. And the apprenticeship requirements go up every year, so they go up a little bit. And then we're stacking the value of the 170.90. That we're taking the base rate of 50 cents per square foot, and then we're stacking value with the prevailing wage and then 25% increase in efficiency. Because obviously we're doing a lot in that building, we're gonna get that. But to the point that everyone else is making on 170.90, I think it's all trickier than the ITC. Because of some of the things that are brought up. Any other thoughts or questions on anything?
Can you explain under the prevailing wage for the ITC, that last sentence not required for projects less than 1 this. So
So
does that mean
under, yeah,
apprenticeship
so
is not required for?
yeah, so that's actually a really good catch, because if it's under 1 megawatt, which is a lot of projects, then you can actually get the 30% without meeting this. So it's actually, that's a good catch. It's only between so if your project was like 1 megawatt, 1.1, you might want to break it down to 900.
Can you hear the other adders?
Yeah, as far as I believe you can, so you can get all the additional adders even after under 1 megawatt, so. Yeah,
I think.
CHP has more requirements for added.
It's like, I don't think there's any, I don't think community bonus, I don't believe there's.
Right.
I think it's only domestic content. And prevailing wage is less than 15.
Yeah.
So this I think is solar specific.
This is solar specific.
Which I think is similar to most of them.
I think it is similar to most of them, but I agree, but I think after 2025, it goes technology neutral on this.
Yeah.
So then after 2025, it goes technology neutral, but it has to be a carbon zero. That's why I was thinking of CHP.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. I've been reading through I've been kind of walking on it, but it gets really dense, and then there's a lot of complicated things. Yeah.
CHP and Virgo are not
Not copacetic.
they're actually opposing because CHP always increases your,
Yeah,
your carbon-based fuel usage compared to non-CHP. Because you're making electricity and which rates and
yeah,
efficiency, so and Berto, then you have to decline on the other side, so and you can't buy a rest place. So at least in places like Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and all and San Francisco, places that are putting that rules in, which I'm going to guess is going to be statewide. In Massachusetts by the end of next year, so is going to run into significant issues.
yeah, and then you have to weigh the cost of applying versus the. Yeah. Production. Yeah, no, I think so it goes 2025, I believe it goes technology control, and then it kind of, but on the CHP and the fuel cells, I definitely put some time into trying to figure it out, and I was struggling with. Exactly, to be totally frank. Like exactly, so if you guys have better insight on that, I'm sure people will be interested.
Are there any additional components in here for community solar that you've seen?
So community solar, I mean, I did see the adder for if you're doing the low income community bonus. You know, right now there's adders even in Massachusetts on the SPAR program for doing LMI. So, but it's again, getting to those low and medium income customers that proves to be a little bit challenging at times. You know, because it's not going directly to the utilities, so you're hiring a third party to go out and canvas essentially, just like, hey, you want to be a part, I mean, how many people have been hit up at their house to be part of the community solar project? I mean, everyone, you know, I'm like, yeah, so.
Well, the challenge is for the
doing that.
companies that don't have land or they have a high-rise building, there's no place to put PV on site.
Right,
And they feel that it's good PR to set up the community solar. It isn't as widely practiced and it's extremely complicated. So that's why I was curious. I think that's an area that needs help because I think it would drive great benefit for all concerned. It's just tough to get off the ground.
the community, so, well, there's communities, yeah, community solar projects, because then you also need a large area that, you know, and their landfills are actually fantastic, like, are fantastic for that, right? So, I mean, Chris could talk about doing it in Sharon, and that I assume the municipality takes a certain amount of the outtake of it. And then,
We're doing a PPA.
oh, you're doing a power purchase agreement, so, all right, you're not doing a community, they're not doing some community solar, you're not taking a lease on that?
Oh, I'm sorry, no, you're right. It's a land lease.
Yeah, so it's a land lease, so then the company owns the solar system and they're playing it into the community solar.
Correct.
They get it better, they're incentivized to go with a low and medium income. It might be hard to share, but they're incentivized to do that because it's a better, it stacks value into the project flow.
Yeah, your incentive is much higher.
Most of the landfills are sending power to the city, the municipality.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
is yours 100% being off-take by the,
Yes,
okay.
so.
Yeah. Yeah, we're actually, finishing up a project down in Pembroke, Mass, that's a 3 megawatt land, community solar project. That's like 3 megawatt with battery storage, and figuring out the LMI portion was definitely, it takes some brain power for sure.
Is that a muni? The
Enough private land,
no, but I mean, where's the power going?
50% is going to the muni is the,
Yeah.
so 50% is going as an anchor tenant. So under the law, under the rules, and anybody who's doing this, please feel free to correct me, because, and don't hold it as gospel, because I don't know what's changed, but. We were doing it for that one, I believe it was like, you could have 49 or 50% as one tenant off taker. And then after that, you have to, the rules are that you have to, like, kind of spread it around. I don't know, and I don't know how many you have now, it was like, but they definitely do not want the community solar to be going into a single, you know, a single entity if it's, right? Like,
But it could go to a business, it could go to a commercial enterprise, as long as a certain percentage is available for the general public.
Exactly, so it's, they're definitely trying to contain the,
It's a good program and the munis, it's better, it's easier to do it than it would be with the Eversources in the national grid. Just based on some experience, it's happening in Florida
yeah.
and the municipalities are stepping up. And they're trying to do these, and they feel, you know, it's worthwhile. If you have a partner that can help you through all the legal and permitting pieces,
That's the pay of it.
that's right.
Yeah, and that's why firms come in and, you know, so like, the why the municipalities love it is because they're actually getting a lease payment to have their, to for their landfills, to have solar done. And the lease payment can be pretty attractive, but, it's definitely, you definitely need a partner to go, it just what it took, what it's taken us to get through the kind of like, in things like, yeah, it's really painful. I mean, you know, you have you set up like a basically data sharing room, and it's just like, it's huge, just all the amount of stuff that you need to get. So there's a lot of work to get solar permitted and solar bells and solar, you know.
Without that LMI now, like we're looking at other systems and community solar, essentially, it's not worth doing.
The businesses are looking to do it to garner the PR, but they're also looking to offset carbon. So I mean, if their carbon neutrality goal or net zero, they're just scrambling. All these companies have set these goals.
Really setting people into adjustment too, like how do you, for the next 2 years, what do you do, and then.
They've set these goals and now they find out they need $1 billion to do it and they're not willing to spend the money.
Right. Yeah,
I have a dumb question.
oh, good, that's good.
You mentioned 3 megawatts solar and all the battery. How much carbon was used to make the panels and all that? Why isn't that got?
Because I would make this bill fun. You know, I read, and they're going like rule of thumb is it takes about 10 years for the carbon to truly be carbon neutral.
Oh, so you have to wait 10 years.
Yeah,
So
pretty
you're
much.
using 10 years of future energy, making it today.
Yeah, I know, but you know, it's like legislate, like the problem, I mean, I think that how much does it take to build it? I don't know, like it just, I hear what you're saying, I think we're in an industry that's, but so I think that's why they measure it the spot instead of thinking about how much does it cost to get our natural gas from Siberia?
It's like cheating.
Yeah,
And also, where are you doing, it, right? So, in New England, you're offsetting a lot more than you might in West Virginia, where they're producing their electricity from coal, right?
Yeah.
So when you're electrifying here, you're actually decarbonizing to a large extent, but to a much lesser extent, you know, in other parts of the country.
Backwards. Anywhere where you can call,
you're about your carbon.
1,500
Yeah.
pounds of a megawatt.
That's what.
In New England, it's
that.
7.5 pounds per megawatt, so. And you're doing West Virginia.
And
you're
I'm talking-
offsetting a lot more coal.
No, I'm sorry, so I was talking about electrifying, not solar. That's what so if you're going to, and I skipped, my brain skipped. I was thinking, really heat pumps and electrification. And because everything's pushing in that direction, you know, we're really not, depending where you are, you're gonna be more successful.
New England electrifying our current grids, less carbon than wanting than using natural gas to keep your building with condensing boiler. In a coal country,
That too.
it would be reversed by about 2 to 3 to 1 ratio. If they use coal plant to make electricity, New England has a carbon. Hello,
Source.
carbon for.
So here's my question for you guys, can we really heat our buildings and homes on heat pumps?
No.
No.
Not if we switch it over, it's not gonna be enough power. Bring the house down.
Ask the people in Texas when their heat pumps that actually frosted up and froze when they had that problem. So that was a lesson because Texas and Florida are almost 100% electric heat.
Actually, that ERCOT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Texas.
Yeah, they didn't stick with their regulations, they didn't winterize their gas, yeah.
Right, it's a plot.
Really dumb question. If we do a project that saves 100,000 kilowatt hours of energy savings, how many panels down there?
Oh, I don't know, I'd have to get my engineer, how many panels for the same amount of savings?
Yeah, so if we were doing the project that was.
I will 100% always say that we should be doing efficiency first. I mean, that's kind of why we look at that model with cut and work.
Why solarize your inefficient?
100% agree with that. Like I would not recommend, like, we really do try to cut, I've seen places where they do it backwards and I think I heard some, so I tried, we are. I mean, I think all of us in this room would say that, do not solarize your inefficiency. You should cut as much as you can before you bother to put solar on. What I think is cool, and I do think it's kind of cool that other technologies are coming into play. Go back to that slide. That do qualify, right? So that you can start, and don't exactly how it all applies and what you can qualify for is just I really did focus on solar because it's the easiest. But it's worth looking at, just letting you know that these technologies are going to be incentivized with the tax incentive. So it's worth looking at, but I agree with you 100%. We should not be,
I'm
we should
looking
not
at
bring in,
projects we do that have a 3-year payback,
yeah.
and now we got something that's 8 years, and we gotta go through this whole.
Yeah, well, and I'm really at, when you look at the measures were on an 8-year payback, it was like a very, it's a pretty comprehensive project, so you're trying to blend it together more in. And get to the deeper savings, like not just doing the 3-year payback stuff, but how do you expand that out and combine the 3-year with the longer term? You got a project that will still cash flow. But I'm 100%, I mean, my background's in energy efficiency, and that's what I've always done, and I do agree with that. 100%, and we should be cutting first.
I was born on a farm that had no electricity, no refrigeration.
And look at, you are here today.
Here I am. No plumbing.
We may be going back to that very soon.
I can tell you a lot of stories. When you want to go catch one.
No, I mean, it's a crazy business, because I agree, like, you need to cut as much as you can.
Happens when you time travel. So you go from that to.
Yeah. But I mean,
So if you're gonna try to do these, what's the minimum project size? Because,
for financing,
no, minimum project size to cover the cost of the paperwork of doing
I don't know,
IT.
yeah.
Because that's not inexpensive. I mean, we skip rebates in Massachusetts. This paperwork is more expensive than what we get from the company. From Mass Save. This is not inexpensive to do.
Yeah, the tax incentive about it, like, it's like, if you were having, if anyone, if I can follow credit in your paperwork, that.
There's like a single line.
Yeah, the solar,
Solar
energy stuff, that goes, doing the energy conservation.
Yeah, the one setting IT is a pain in the ass. I mean, I think that is, I wanted to show again, are the possibles out there, not necessarily what you should or should not go after.
Yeah, I think the ITC is like 3 lines.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. That was not the hard part of solar, by the way. It's every, for commercial solar, it's 100 around. Utilities are pain in the ass.
So,
If the utilities, it's making sure it needs to, who has time on land, I can go on, but. Feasibility is your roof kind of thing. But there's a lot of other things around it. Any other, but yeah, I don't, the tax credit's not, there's no guidance yet from the IRS on how the public sector is gonna take to get their credit. So that we're still waiting for. The direct pay is it's in the legislation, it's clear, or it's as clear as it's gonna be in any legislation. I don't know if anybody's read the legislation, but it's like, and the legislation reads something like this. Modify section 1.3 of, of section of this other thing, so you have to.
You gotta look back at the other one.
They're like, whoa, well, it doesn't just say this is what it is now. It's all just like, oh, this modifies this prior thing. So,
getting the low income.
yeah, look back at, so you're constantly having to be like, okay, now I have to go see what was in this other legislation and what they changed. Because they just don't tell you what it is, they tell you what they changed.
I need the audible version.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. So then you start reading just analysis of it. Like what other people have done. So it's a bit of a, but that part is clear, it's just how it's going to be, how the municipality's gonna get it is not 100% clear. So. But, you know, it's interesting, it's cool that these are, you know, these are here. You know, these were, you know, but if it's just a curse, I'm all.
So, good, I'll let you get back to you about that. Seriously, there's some technologies we're working with that's gonna be like the next LED, because there's all these compressors, HVAC.
Yeah,
Compressors and refrigeration, which is, I've been doing refrigeration for 27
forever,
years.
yeah.
And this new technology is gonna save another 30 to 40% on compressors.
That's amazing, yeah.
So if you can do that, payback of less than 3 years,
And why wouldn't you?
it really depends on the runtime. If the
Oh,
compressor only
right.
runs 20% a year, who cares if you save that?
Right,
So you have to look at.
run times, everything's
Correct.
run times, yeah, lighting, run. Any other questions or
I
thoughts
have-
that I may not be able to answer?
Really good question. Where is, right, it's gonna be.
Oh my gosh, you know what, it's a really good thing because I brought my crystal ball. So that is actually one of the challenges that building projects have, right? So if you're building a. Yeah, how kind of, you can look historically and say, this is historically what rates have gone up year over year. And use that as a, or you could say like, hey, we're at this ridiculously high, high rate now. And we're gonna model our projects out of this rate. Do we think it's gonna come down next year? I don't
When you model,
know.
when you model, something to.
Oh, percent increase?
Yeah, that's
It
all.
depends on what the project needs, but it's probably, I try to keep it below top, to be honest. So if I don't like, it, I never go about 3 or try not to. But I don't think it's much transparency. Like whatever you're putting into cash flow for a customer, I think that it's really just about being a competition and transparent with them about why, what and why.
And we stand by that 6% of the being possible. I think everything. More.
Yeah.
And that way, and, you know, that's like our biggest concern, we don't want to get red flag for an iron side. Because they don't understand that developers being 30%, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so exactly, and you just want to be like, that's why I was trying to, it's like, by building, for building a cash flow where. I mean, most it's like, you know, always contracting for customer. You, to me, it's, I don't know, but nobody knows what their energy is. They're skyrocketing right now. We saw this back with natural gas. I don't know, I was starting with the gas company 15, 20 years ago. And, you know, it was $12 a megawatt, 13, you know, it's like now it came down. So, right, you know, it's like, who, I don't know. So you want to be, I try to be as conservative as possible, but then again, if you're trying to make projects to work, you need to be transparent.
We often do is we will take whatever the energy cost is today. And then say, here's a project that stays the same,
Mhm.
here's it goes up 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
You make the call, because nobody can predict it. The worst thing you do is throw 3% in there.
and just leave it.
Because you exploit that up, people will say that's pure profit, you know, the customer's gonna know that something's wrong. Because they're gonna look at the last 20 years, and you're gonna see electricity prices going up,
And then
gas prices then coming flying down, right? They're gonna say, how can you tell me that the price is always gonna go up?
And I mean, you just had this conversation with the customer.
Just use on the day, yeah, just use whatever it is today and say, hey, go up or down, but if the project doesn't make sense today, in today's money, today's dollars, why are you gonna inflate it 3% a year for the next 20 years to make the project work?
Right.
That's just math, it is lying to somebody.
Well, it's just
So,
math, and
just math.
it's like, that it's like, you're experts in this, they aren't typically, you know, and so that's where I feel our job is to be,
And you gotta tell them.
to be, educate them every step of the way and not to, and it's, I don't need to, I don't wanna It's our reputations on the line too, I don't, and to, I don't, to sell a project on big math or on wishful thinking.
All right, we're on the spot. So what are you gonna use for rates going forward? Because obviously they're not gonna stay where they're.
Take the last 5 years and say, customer, I'm taking the last 5 years of your energy bill, you hand it to me. That's reality, right?
Yeah, we
Not
typically,
guessing.
we're typically using a 3-year average, right?
Three, yeah, 3.5, but just tell whatever you use. And you're not gonna use 44 cents going forward, because it's the anomaly, right?
Right, that's
So
that's
just
what
look
my question is.
Just go back to
Because you ran those samples with the anomaly price of utilities in it. But the reality is
Yeah, you would probably use a 3, if I were really building a project out for a customer, we probably use a 3-year average. This is, or show, and then, and we could also show it that way too, saying, here's it is at today's rates. We don't know what it's gonna do, but you don't wanna, particularly if there's an MBA agreement behind it, because we're, as a company, we'll be protected because it's on usage, not on rates. But you don't want them going forward feeling like they're paying more than they got out of the project. So if you guarantee, because the savings guarantee is gonna be based on the usage, not on what, we don't guarantee rates. But you don't want them to feel like they were that they're paying more than. So it is about it's about being.
Like that, one of the things to that, if you look around the country and everybody puts solar on their roofs in the last 10 years, 15 years. Solar City, Sun Edison, right? All parts of the country, they had the escalators in there at 3%. They're surpassing their electric utility rates. So people have solar panels all in the house, and they dish out more for the solar than if they had done nothing.
Right.
Because it only took 3.4 years to surpass on the math, right, that they don't understand, to go right above the local utility rate. So now they're all underwater.
You know, outside of New England, electricity has been free. It's 4 cents in Texas, 5 cents, 7 cents in Colorado.
Yeah.
So the rest of the country doesn't see this. People don't understand that there's no investment in the Rust Belt and in the South in energy efficiency because energy is free. They don't need the gas to heat. And so there's really a disparity when you look at New England. I mean, California, 12 cents, 15 cents, a lot of that self-induced out there because of the greening of the grid and some of the policies. But Texas, I've seen it 4 cents.
I've seen it before, and now it's coming up a bit, so, or not, and then.
Right.
Reliability is another issue, right? So
Yeah.
we're seeing projects based on, or you can power space in different places, or, actually, in some of the reliability issues. I mean, one of our biggest clients is HEB, we do solar all over the place for them in Texas. So there are projects, but they pay cash and they have the use that they want, right? But we've done all their efficiency first. So we've done their efficiency and then they'll come in and do that. So it's, what?
They didn't go all of it.
We didn't enact the goal controls. I'll talk to her.
The big issue is carbon. So before recently, corporate America, we don't look at payback anymore. They're looking, they got a carbon goal.
Yeah, it's just not having a carbon calculator. But it's
Right, so it's all the cost. So when you have to invest $20 million in energy efficiency, you can calculate the cost of carbon based on the projects that you're doing. So the real push is how are these companies going to meet their goals?
Oh, yeah, it's huge.
And so we're not talking anymore about simple payback. Don't hide that, don't talk about it. It's really how many millions or billions of dollars is it going to take for you to get to where you got to go?
Right.
Between offsets, RECs,
And I'm more than happy to
efficiency
help
and renewables, right? So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see if that holds. Because there's a lot of people that predict that whole carbon market's going to collapse.
It's gonna be
And people are going to
interesting.
walk away from it just because of the economy, like they did in 2008. So we will see
We'll
if
see.
that happens.
Yeah, because I've been wondering that too, is that how, because, carbon's important, it's still not the reason the project's getting done, except for now it's starting to play, and we're definitely starting some projects that are based on, like, I don't know, I don't know. the answer.
Well, the other thing you didn't have in there is the quality of life for the employees, the health. So people went out and went fit or well fit, and they increased their ventilation 3-4 fold. Well, there's a cost for that
There's a
in
cost.
energy, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of other components to that. In how does this look at the end of the day? I make an investment and what are the benefits associated with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're moving away from an economic model to other.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
the ESG, like the environment, like the environment, health and safety, like the EHS, that's where they, environment, safety and governance, ESG, like all of those things are becoming bigger and bigger, and it is about that full picture and who's buying into it and who's not. And yeah, I'm seeing companies like definitely, but it's how much they care, and some of it is driven by who's scope 3 are they? So if there's someone else's, so if you are GM scope 3 and GM has a target, did that become a lot more important for you? So that's part of what we're seeing, but we'll see how much it relates to what I'm talking about. So scope 3 is the supplier, so
Yeah.
if you're, General Motors, then you have whoever's providing your, bolts and whatever else. Plastic parts, whatever, they're become your scope 3, they're your supply chain.
Plastic bottles. Just last week or 2 weeks ago, they had a huge summit for refrigeration. People are trying to get away from Freon. CO2.
Well, ammonia's coming back to do that here.
Yeah, no, ammonia is the other one. Yeah, so it was a big deal because California's pushing by 2025 to pass certain laws. You can't use certain refrigerants with the outlawed. The statistics were 61% of all supermarkets. Not moving.
Yeah,
I go like, California Air Resources Board is just like crazy. And then they're passing all these laws without thinking, what the hell, it's just people that can't eat, that's all.
no, it's so crazy, like, that's part of the problem, even with the electrification, I think we all know that, right? So we're like, we're electrifying everything, are we?
Yeah.
But in that, like, even, we were doing this project, and this one was for, all right, so it's a company out in Oregon or Washington rather, and we're doing solar and battery storage, the whole project is designed as a UPS. So the batteries are there to make sure they have power space. So very, very expensive way to do it, but the climate plan, like, this is why we do it, but it was a major problem. The battery storage, the refrigerant that we needed to use on the battery storage, we didn't have one available that was met their guidelines on what was acceptable, and it was like, it delayed, it's been delaying our commission to finally come to terms on what.
Low GWP, right?
Yeah,
The struggle on the steam and high temperature heat is technology doesn't exist today to displace, other than an electric boiler. I never thought I'd see the day where electric boilers are going to be mainstream, but then you have to change your electric service and you have to have the local grid power.
then
But-
then you have to decide, then do you need to do an interconnect?
Yeah,
You
it's,
just drain the battery in your car to run it.
You didn't need to go.
A lot of cars.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty, it's crazy. It doesn't get boring.
Yeah, if anybody wants to watch all the webinars that are recorded, it's really interesting, actually. Part of it was also the fact that since 2020 till 2030, there's $38,000 in straight AC and
Yeah.
So they're not making them as fast as they need them. And all the equipment that's being made by manufacturers are more complicated.
Yeah.
And the guys that are old school said, shit, I gotta push a button, I'm gone. So they just either retire and say, I can't deal with it. And the complexity, and then the 24/7 being on call. I mean, there's Pool Sys, which has like 5,000 or 6,000 employees and 500 pros and stuff. 900. I mean, they're all talking about, you want to buy companies, but they don't want to work in refrigeration.
Yeah.
They just don't want it. So all these people, we deal with a lot of customers like, this refrigeration, I hate it. I said, be careful.
Yeah.
You're gonna find another one.
Other comes to like them.
Yeah. I'll give him a hug.
Yeah. Give your refrigeration guy a hug there. No, they're overworked in there.
Technology hasn't changed that much in years, so that's the other problem. That's one area that we can raise that up. Savings is huge. I mean, almost 20% of all electricity used is refrigeration.
Yeah.
I get emails all the time. There's another cold storage plant, another one, $1 billion. Many years statistics is just everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, in Sharon, you probably saw the one that was big freezer.
Not me, but very impressed.
Preferred freezers, now lineage.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, those would be great projects. Yeah. No, and I think that's, obviously, that's what we should be doing first. I mean, it's silly to electrify or to bring in, solar or any other renewable technology without actually reducing the load. And I think that that's really one of the things, like, because there's been too much of the virtual power purchase agreements, like, that to say, oh, I'm carbon neutral because I buy all my power, the other than Boston, I buy all my power from a wind farm in South Dakota. So I think that fortunately is getting, there's some of that.
You need additionality. The carbon offsets and rec market is eventually going to disappear.
Yeah.
And people are gonna have to put their money where their mouth is, and they're gonna have to invest in efficiency.
I don't think it'll disappear, but I do agree.
It is, well, they're already declining in
Yes,
the qualified percentage, and recs are going up.
Mhm.
So the model won't work as well as it
Right.
used to. I
It
think
won't work as well because you're not gonna be able to offset your own cheap, green.
your fossil fuel, you'll be limited to what you can offset.
Well, I mean. I have many clients that have wrecks in Texas. Well, with the new Virgo, those don't count.
They don't count, they'll have to be a 2-year grace period.
They have to be
Yeah,
class 1 wreck in New England.
Yeah.
Or actually Massachusetts. And so they have to be real wrecks.
Yeah.
And so, right now, I was in community solar, in my town, we can't get it. Because there are no wrecks to buy, someone sell us.
Yeah.
They don't exist anymore, there are not any wrecks in New England, they're left over. Right.
yeah,
But I don't think the rec market's gonna disappear, I think it's just gonna have to become much more legitimate and transparent that those are really recs that you have that qualify under some type of system. Eventually, it's gonna have to be probably national in nature because electricity flows over the state. It's not that.
Really allowing recs from Texas when power is not right. It's staying in Texas. It's.
Yeah, but that's just.
yeah.
They had to bring power over the line because they didn't generate enough, they couldn't generate enough for keep themselves from road.
From the US, but from Mexico.
They took from Oklahoma. Remember, there's small parts of Texas that are not in the Texas grid. So, but they interconnect with the Texas grid, so they, grew. So there was actually more movement than normal. On one.
Direct conflict, you know that. Why are we so low? That's why you're. Just what you know.
They had to do it, otherwise people would have really yelled at the street and then being frozen and.
Yes.
Twice in 2 years. Yeah.
I agree with Jeff on the recs. Buying a wreck is like paying somebody else to stop smoking for you.
Yeah.
Got that?
It's like,
Somebody else
right.
to stop smoking for you.
It's like the Civil War, you could pay $300 to have somebody go fight for you.
Yeah, there you go,
Yeah,
yeah, really go.
Yeah, it is exactly
For
like that.
5 years, where you could invest in private.
It just, people need to step up. There's energy efficiency. There's so much people can do.
I agree.
And
Totally agree.
it is it was cost effective before.
For 8 years at a term is a cost effective term. It's still, are you getting, what drives me nuts is when, you see this where it's like, are you leaving your building? And even if you are, your building's more valuable. Like, but even for facilities when they're like a higher education, you're not leaving. And it's so slow.
The problem is that the banks have all sold all the property except their data centers. In the United States, tax code is set up. Owning a building is bad.
Yeah, a lot of people lease.
Right. So you lease. Well, then you lease, it's up to the landlord whether you can invest in the building.
Not
Yeah.
on the interior. The
Well-
interior is yours.
Yeah, the point is there's not the opportunity to do the kind of things if you own the building.
Yeah, if you own the building and also the landlord typically is not incentivized to upgrade the efficiency because they're not paying the utility bill. So then it comes down to you set up a green lease model,
Right,
but
right.
then, you know, that really has to happen when the lease is up.
And in New York City, you had the landlords like the Empire State Building that made a statement that said, we're gonna invest and we're gonna get our EUI low, and that's gonna be a marketing point
Right.
for our building, and that's happened here in Boston.
I think
They've invested.
reliable power should be an amenity. You know, like keeping your lights on should be the new garage power test.
That may come to be.
Thing.
The MRC building actually did a proposed contract.
Oh, yeah, they did all that. The state of New York
Yeah,
wanted to make a showcase happen, so there's financing we don't see. Out of tax.
Solar, I think, too. I would say all this about, all the different concerns about what the funds are and everything. Good news is, kind of like somebody here tell you, like, news or bad news. Compared to what? I mean, so what are we doing? We're doing something, everybody's thinking about it. We have an audience that listens more because what's going on. Sooner or later, there's gonna be a big idea, because everyone's thinking about it. So ultimately, compared to what?
I really like that analogy. I think I'll do that. Yeah, that's good. These are covers. No, no. Anything else?
No, I was gonna say that at that summit, there was somebody who's have a business in Chicago who sell carbon credits to like Google or Facebook.
Yeah.
So they build all these data centers. They'll buy like 1 million carbon credits, so converting people that convert from regular refrigerated, to ammonia.
Yeah.
They can sell those credits, like supermarket, 100 stores, and sell all those credits. And somebody like Google or somebody will buy them because
Yeah.
that's the only way to get it.
Well, now there's software out there too that will track their, about like how, when you're buying energy and who they're buying from, so that you can track everything. There's a lot of fancy stuff that, I still agree that the baseline should be there's a lot of fancy ways to calculate, there's a lot of fancy ways to, you know, track it and bring it into a cool platform, but the bottom line is, yeah, doing efficiencies, the quickest payback investment. But now we can stack all those other stuff.
And you can bug it,
You can bundle.
if you need to, I mean, if it doesn't cash flow, you can phase it, and you can use your budget or future incentives, to help buy it down, if you need to, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think there's another version, especially in the public sector, with performance contract, and that's kind of some of the low-hanging fruit with Green Business Act, a lot of things have been done. So how do we still continue that and bring multiple things, multiple either phasing or where budgets you can free up when you get more grant money in different places, or actually combining, you know, and bringing capital into it. It's going to be very important.
Yeah, because I mean, every municipality has goals that they can't really reach, right?
Right.
By themselves.
So using a procurement model that allows them to use a design build contract to get you there, essentially, right? All right, guys, I'm not a goodness, so.
I was gonna say.